Normally, I would not play a trailer this long, so just be ready for that, Jeremy. It's like a 2-minute trailer.
Okay.
Just because I know a lot of people are not super familiar with this movie, so I figured I'd just play the old trailer.
Sure.
So people can get a sense of what we're talking about, you know? So here's the trailer for Peeping Tom.
Look out! Look out! Look out! Take care. You are being watched. We repeat, take care, for you are now alone with a killer. We warn you, don't let him see the fear in your eyes. For this is what he seeks, and this is why he kills.
Where are you? Where are you?
Look out for Carl Byrne as the Peeping Tom. Fear him, but pity him also.
It's no good.
Watch out for Moira Shearer as the lovely stand-in who innocently dances into danger.
Imagine someone coming towards you who wants to kill you, regardless of consequences.
A madman?
Yes.
Wait! Look!
Anna Massey is the girl who falls victim to the charms of the lonely stranger upstairs.
Switch it off, Mark. Mark, switch it off.
Maxine Audley as the blind woman who senses the danger that threatens her and her daughter, but is helpless.
Don't be frightened.
Not frightened. Hot. So put that camera away!
There is no future for anyone who tries to befriend him. He invades the privacy of innocent people till the piercing eyes of his camera meet the terrified eyes of his victims. And with a compulsion akin to madness, he shoots the final, fearful scene.
That is a hilarious trailer. I love the narration. Fear him. He is watching you.
Yeah.
So this is Michael Powell's 1960 film Peeping Tom, written by Leo Marx. It stars Carl, how do you say this? Karl-Heinz Bohm? Karl-Heinz Bohm? Yeah. Anna Massey, Maxine Audley, Maura Shearer, Brenda Durst, Miles Mallison, Esmond Knight, Martin Miller, and others. The logline plot synopsis is: a young man murders women using a movie camera to film their dying expressions of terror. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. So we both like this movie. We both have a history with it. Actually, I think it's one of the first things we probably just mentioned to each other tangentially when we were early in the days of us having conversations and stuff like that. When did you come to Peeping Tom? How did you find Peeping Tom?
This was another one of those examples, I think, where I want to say I partly discovered it through my film teacher back in high school. I took like 3 years of like film studies, different levels, of course, but this was like on a long list of just like cult films that like were worth checking out, or at least a little revolutionary and ahead of the time. But I think I didn't actually watch scenes or snippets of it until I think one of those like Bravo's like 100 scariest movie moments sort of highlights. And it was on Netflix, I want to say back in like 2008, 2009 when I watched it. And I was really taken with it. I was, even at that age, I was not, we'll get into that later, but I was not bothered with the kind of, not procedural, but very, very slow, very almost mundane pace, you could say, with a lot of it.
It's very deliberately paced. Yeah. It's an odd movie. Like it's an oddly structured movie, oddly paced movie for sure.
Yeah. And it definitely spoke to a lot of some of my weird sensibilities that, even in rewatching it now, I still kind of have. A man and his camera. What can you
Yeah.
say about, it's hard to not like fit into the shoes of Mark and what he's kind of going through, his plight, you could say, even if it means, I got to kill some women,
Well, because
Which
this
you
is
should
like,
never
when it came out, it was a very controversial movie. Like, I got pulled and stuff. And one of the
Right.
reasons why it was controversial is because it has empathy for the killer. It's
Yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
a character piece about him and why he is the way he is to some degree. Maybe it doesn't go into it as deeply as it's a little pop psychology, but it's very unique for what it was. I came to it. I stumbled onto this. Oh my gosh, probably around the same time you did, coincidentally enough, but just in a very different way. I was just up late one night, channel surfing, and I used to always go to Turner Classic Movies. I would just watch, kind of just put on whatever they had on, and I just have it on the background or whatever. And this movie had just started. I was like 5 minutes into it, and I was just so captivated by the look and the style and the feel of the movie, and it's kind of a unique perspective on like a slasher movie, essentially, right? Like, people call this the proto slasher. It came out, I think, a month before Psycho did, and because that's another thing. I was a big Hitchcock fan. It's very Hitchcockian in its own weird way. You could definitely see Hitchcock making a movie very much like this. It wouldn't be like this, but the subject matter for sure. But yeah, I was just so taken with it, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and it became a little bit of a mini obsession for a little while. Just because I love the look of it so much. Like, I just love the look. I love how odd it is. Like, it's really, like, when we say it's deliberately paced, like, it really is. Like, it's really got its own thing going on.
Yeah.
Which I think could frustrate people too. I can understand that. It not being everybody's cup of tea. I really could.
Well, yeah, and especially even with audiences at the time, because it did not do well when it came out. People did not respond to it, and any sort of limelight or any sort of good graces. And is you mentioning like it coming out like a month before, like Psycho, or even like other movies like around the same year, Eyes Without a Face, or things like that. Like things that just kind of like ventured away from the Hays Code at the time, and went into these more just like more gruesome territory for whatever reason. Even though, and I mean, rewatching Peeping Tom is like, it never actually goes that far into it, other than just being more implied. And that's the kind of the beautiful thing about it specifically. It's very much a kind of just like a patient sort of thrill ride through and through, and but you feel for everybody in a weird way. Like that's the captivating thing about the movies.
Yeah, 100%. Like, the casting is impeccably casted because you immediately kind of understand the nature of the characters.
Yeah.
Like, without having to spend like a ton of time with them. And this is something like Michael Powell was actually kind of known for. He was like a very proud Englishman, and he liked to make what he considered to be like English movies. In particular, I was not very familiar with his filmography, even though I was such a big fan of Peeping Tom. I never really watched his other stuff until preparing for this, and I got a chance to check out Black Narcissus and The Red Shoes, which are actually oddly enough, Peeping Tom fits right in with his filmography because they're movies that are about expression, they're about art, they're about the darker sides of these things or how they can manifest in negative ways in your life. And it's kind of this obsession, like, there's a lot of voyeurism in his movies. This one is explicitly kind of about voyeurism to one degree or another. It's about the power of movies. It's about reactions. It's very almost kind of literal in a way. How it kind of, because it's kind of about making movies in a weird way. Treadlick says it tanked Michael Powell's career, who had been big in the 40s and 50s, partners with Emmerich Pressburger under the name The Archers. Yes, Emmerich Pressburger is basically his co-director on everything up until Peeping Tom. But yeah, Peeping Tom derailed his career. It was pulled from theaters, from distribution, pretty early in its run. It was sold off to like a small bullshit production company or a studio, and it kind of was lost almost for a long time until the early 80s. Martin Scorsese actually championed it him and Thelma Schoonmaker, which I think, didn't she end up marrying Michael Powell? I think she did.
That's how those
I can't remember.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but she would have been very young, and he would have been very old. So
Yeah, right.
But anyways, so that's how it gets rediscovered in the 80s. It was kind of a lost movie for a long time, and it was only known about from like serious film fans, like people that collected like film reels and shit like that knew about it, but most of the general public had completely forgotten about it. But like I said, though, and like you had said, it's actually, you know, and I understand we're kind of looking through it through a modern lens, because it does feel very chaste in its own weird way.
Sure.
Even though it is about luridness, it's about repression, it's about, you know, but it does it in a very tasteful way, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right when they get into the magazine and news press store, like, I mean, you're just seeing like just a ton of images of just scantily clad or naked women, like right from the get go. And this is 1960, and you're just like, whoa, they're just getting right to it. And in the meanwhile, like in the background, I just love how everybody's still so posh and polite here. You know.
Yeah, they're very British.
Yeah,
they're very English. Yeah.
It's time for tea, everybody. Yeah.
Well, I think what Powell is doing, and he's trying to kind of seed this into the movie, is implicating you as the audience member for watching it.
Yeah.
Like we become the voyeurs as we see his POV through the camera, but also there's kind of a note, and it's kind of explicit in the scene where the old man goes into the store to buy the dirty pictures.
Right.
You were just talking about. He goes to the store. There's stuff hanging out. There's a studio behind there. That's where Mark works. And he was going there to buy dirty pictures. But it's kind of asserting this idea is that everybody's kind of a pervert. Everybody's got a weird fetish. Like you can be a respectable person and still be a little kinky, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's very like progressive, especially for the era. And I think Michael Powell's other movies are like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could even maybe suggest there's maybe a little bit too much empathy for the killer at times. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's really, I'm saying that as more of a hindsight thing, because I think it was just kind of, it was the pop psychology of the era was like, well, we need to think about like the killers and what makes a killer a killer. And then, you know, we have criminal forensics and criminal psychology ends up being developed in the wake of pop psychology of the 50s and 60s and 70s in the early 80s. Actually, that show Mindhunter is actually based on a real person who really did criminal profiling. He was the guy who started it. But it all comes from these ideas. And yeah, and like, but it works for the movie itself, though. That's a hindsight thing. That's looking 60 years in the past and judging it through a modern lens. But yeah,
I'm sure you could do some sort of like psychological analysis of how Powell probably approaches like all of this material. But you do bring up, I do love that scene, especially with the old man coming in, like buying the dirty pictures, like, oh, like you can tell he's probably like a married man. He might have a kid or two or something like that. He's just like, I'll take the lot, you know.
It's the classic guy goes in, be like, I'll take a stick of gum, a pack of cigarettes, hustler, like.
And it's made so unsettling when the little girl comes in too, and you're just like, oh.
Well, that's the provocation, and that's the idea that like, well, we're all engaging in this kind of perversion together.
Yeah.
Like that's what the movie's trying to kind of get across. It's implicating you as an audience member for wanting to watch it.
Yeah.
Which is certainly puts you in the headspace, I suppose, of Mark. I will say though, the dirty old man buying the pictures, that's my secret MVP.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice.
That's my I have a backup, but
he's up there for
MVP.
me for sure. I'm gonna be. I guess we're jumping a little bit ahead, but like I know it's probably like the easy one, but I really do like Maxine oddly as Mrs. Stevens, the blind woman.
That was my backup. I called her Sherlock Mama.
There you go.
That's what I call her, because she's great. She's great. But her character is very contrived. Like it's a third act insertion of a character to solve something.
Yeah.
And but it's fun. It's fun.
Sure.
It's super fun. What did he say? Let me see. Trembling says, but not as obnoxiously as the funny games guy does, where he might as well come on at the end and chastise you for watching the movie. Yeah, that's that's funny games. Had both versions, which he directed, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you just like watching sadism, don't you? You fuck. Well, I guess I do. Okay,
Yeah.
we all like horror movies. It's a safe way to experience the darker side of life.
Right. Well, then just don't make it, Haneke.
Yeah, just fucking. Well, he's dead, so he can't.
Yeah.
He died a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you think of just the look of the movie itself? Like just the aesthetic and the cinematography. Yeah. Any thoughts about that kind of stuff?
No, I took a couple notes on this. I thought the color scheme in this film is like remarkably impressive.
Yeah.
Even by today's standards, I haven't seen
Yes.
this new Criterion republished.
Oh, you
print
haven't
of
seen the
it.
4K?
Not yet.
Oh, dude, it's nice. It's
I'm
good.
missing out. I thought, see, and this is the other thing. I thought I owned a DVD copy of this film. I checked my DVD rack and I was like, nope, I don't have it. I thought I had it, so I had to watch it on good old Tubi just to.
That's right. I saw that it was on Tubi. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But no, everything like it's got this. I would say there's like a good mix of just like neon reds, like very neon. Even more so than like what we're doing now, I think, with all the fucking whatever you want to call it, the bisexual lighting and shit in movies.
Well, because it's motivated lighting too. It's about
it feels like it
what's
needs to be there. Yeah,
it's what's happening in the scene. It's reflecting the mood of the character. As the character's mood shifts, the lights shift. Like
right.
It's like we don't know how to. People don't know how to do that shit anymore, because they're like because they'd be like, well, why is it like that? Like, who cares?
The only thing, it
Does it-
looks cool. That's all that comes to their brains. But does it have a purpose? I think it has a purpose here, for sure. But yeah,
I mean, because I love the whole design of it. Because the whole design of it is kind of doubles into this voyeurism thing, where you feel like you're watching a stage play a lot of the time, because of it's very theatrical sets. The way they're always like even the character himself, Mark, he's always controlling something, he's always moving something, adjusting something. But just even in the aesthetic of the movie, just the set design, everything looks like a little set.
yeah.
And I kind of noticed that on this watch through of it, and I was just like, oh wow, that's really fascinating, because it's even in there. It's even in there. This idea that you're close to it. Like if you go see a play or a theater production, like you feel close to it. You can see the actors, you can kind of smell them. And I think he was trying to get that across to people as well. It's just there in the subtext. It's not spoken about. It's not like really directed. It's just kind of there. Especially the scene when he's like, when the girl does the dance routine, the one that he stuffs in the trunk, right? That whole thing is like him making a movie.
Yep.
He's being a director, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody has like their own individual spotlight, and I mean like literal spotlight on their faces, as well, to kind of differentiate everybody, but also say that this is all part, like you said, a voyeuristic, grander scheme to make this documentary, whatever this is. And when you learn and piece together more and more about like what's even inspiring this, that's where I love I think that's what drew me to it the first time I watched it, was just like the whole backstory of just like what was going on with his dad, Mark's dad, and just like how that. I know, again, I've talked endlessly about it. We're talking about like the endless trauma horror that we're still kind of piling through with every new entry, but like this definitely started that a little bit. Psycho does as well, but they're kind of different entities.
Well, because it's an easy, like, what do you when you make movies
start?
about with killers, like you feel kind of obligated to have it make sense in some way, right? And I think they do it in an interesting way in this movie. A lot of it's not seen. A lot of it's just reaction shots, which I also really loved, because this movie is full of reactions to things. He's constantly cutting to people's reactions, because that is what the character is doing. While the conceit of the movie is that he films people with his tripod with a knife on the end of it, and he has like a mirror mounted on top of the camera so they can watch themselves get stabbed, because he's trying to capture the essence of fear.
Yes.
On film, because he thinks that's what his dad was doing. You know, and there's this interesting thing about legacy. There's this interesting thing about like what do you take from your parents? Like, what do you take from your father? He's truly his father. He became his father's son, even though he doesn't really want to be.
Yeah. He's trapped in a way. Yeah.
He feels trapped. And like, that's what's the interesting thing about the girl character when she gets introduced. Anna Massey as Helen Stevens. She is both his savior and his destruction. Like, because he can't reconcile his feelings.
Yeah.
And just a lot of it's a very rich movie. There's like a lot of things to kind of dive into. Like, there's so many aspects of it. I almost like don't know where to start.
Yeah. Well, I like what the Helen character does for him in a lot of ways, you know, because she notices him because he stands out. He's mysterious. He has this own kind of side work that he does that's devious and
He
going
takes dirty pictures
and all this sort of stuff. But she takes an interesting in that and in him in many ways, and breaks it down into her own life as well. And then he takes an interest in her to a point that like he can't even by the very end bring himself to even kill her because of the effect that she's actually had on him, the way that the other victims never had ever.
Yes.
And it's there's a
because he only
twist-
only looks at his victims through a camera. Like, that's a big component.
But he looked at
of
her
it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And he refuses to look at her through the camera because anything he films dies, right? Like, that's
Right.
part of like his bag. But yeah, and it's such a nice character touch that they do with that relationship too. There's so many nice little moments, so many nice little touches, because there's a moment where he can see himself moving on from what he's doing. There's a great moment. It's a very important moment if you've seen the movie, is that like he leaves his camera for her in her apartment. Like, that's like moving a mountain for that guy, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a big moment. And the movie's full of thoughtful little things like that, even though there is this kind of sense of existential dread that everything's about to catch up with him at some point. Like, it has to. He's kind of being very sloppy about it, because all he cares about is the footage. It's kind of like that old joke about making movies. It's like, you know, pain is temporary, cinema is forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way he kind of looks at it, in this weird way.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really care about like what he leaves behind, the evidence. He only cares to a certain degree, but he's very sloppy about it. And I can't believe he hadn't already been caught. What are these people doing?
I know. Took them very long enough, you know. And this is what makes him a very relatable filmmaker. And I think people should aspire and look up to be like him.
I mean, his relationship with... I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna just say, like, you know, and it speaks to just like, I'm definitely a sucker for any movie that deals with just the art of movie making or recording or creating works of art with these formats. I know, like, the classic examples are like movies like Blowout or The Conversation, or even when I covered on Fleep It After Dark, Hollywood 90028 does the same exact thing too. Did you ever see Shaun, did you ever see the movie what's it called? Barbarian Sound Studio?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, also just kind of getting into like the more Audacity driven kind of lane of just like capturing just random sound effects, you know, like it and what that does to somebody's like psyche. There's so many stories you can tell with this, you know.
100%. And like and it's something that's followed all the way down through the movie. Like, it's just like it's part of the essence of the film, and he communicates it without having to tell you, which I appreciate so fucking much.
Yeah.
I have so fucking much. I just love that. I don't know why. Like, I can't believe I'm just so tickled and so pleased with like basic filmmaking shit. Like, you go back and you're just like, oh, it's just coherent and it makes sense, and like I feel slightly enriched by it. Like, oh my god, thank God. not being assaulted by whatever fucking horse shit that's out in the theater right now. And I trust me, I know how I sound. I know I sound like a stuck-up, snobby cineast, but it's just how I feel. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, you feel what a lot of people are feeling right now, myself included. Like, I just want to go back and just watch anything that feels a little bit more pure again, and not feel inundated by just just modern pop and stuff.
But even our old popcorn movies were like made sense.
Yeah,
They were entertain. Like, is Demolition Man a great movie? No, but it's fucking a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, and the characters are characters. Like, they feel like more even in Demolition Man, for Christ's sakes. They can't do that nowadays. This is awful. Trebek says Jeremy is going to have to prove his actors are still alive, like the Cannibal Holocaust guy did. That'll be awesome. I'll be there. I'll be in court. I'll be on
all
Jeremy's
but one.
side.
I have a rule with how I'd handle my set, but yeah.
Yeah, since we're talking about the relationship with the girl, which I really enjoyed a lot. Like, I think it's because it's kind of the core of it's the heart of the story, if you will, to be cliche. But it is the heart of the story, and even all of these little subtle type of nods to her kind of innocence are all over the movie. Like, from her bedroom to the fact that he offers her a glass of milk. Like, there's just so many things that are constantly kind of reinforcing this idea of this original final girl, if you will.
She wears a cross. She's traditionally dressed for pretty much the whole runtime.
She works at a library.
Yeah.
She wrote a children's book.
Yeah.
Which I love that they were able to fold that character into his interests.
Yes.
Like, in a legitimate way, except that he has to go try to make something beautiful.
Yeah.
And he's like, doesn't look at people like that often, right?
Right.
He finds beauty in the ugly. That's what he does. That's his thing, right?
Yeah.
Because especially in the scene, it's like when he goes to the camera shop or wherever he works, and he goes back in the set, and there's the girls waiting there to get their dirty pictures taken, and you see a girl with I guess a cleft palate. Is that what they call it? Mm-hmm. And he's very fascinated by her. Because this is beautiful thing that's also ugly at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the way I think he views anything that he likes. Also, I think he planned to kill that girl, but because he filmed her,
probably
so.
at some, yeah. With that one little makeup of her mouth just kind of like going up like that. Also, even just like a scene like that too, like I'm just so immersed with just all the, like we kind of talked about it already, but just the set design is just incredible.
It is
because the other chick is just like laying on this like lion rug and whatnot, and just like hanging back. It's all just, I don't know. There's like so much going on, and I think that really does speak to the. I'm gonna use a film term here for your audience, to the mise en scène of.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
the mise en scène of the film.
Yeah, that gives it a lot of character. Gives it a lot of just like very immersive quality that wants you just to not lock your eyes away from what's going on.
Yeah, because I mean, I think you could say that it looks a lot like the Technicolor movies of the era. Mm-hmm. But he does something with it. He just kind of Powell just kind of shifts it in a way that kind of turns things into cluttered nightmares.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of like I said, everything looks like kind of like a set, and I think some of that's intentional because you're kind of seeing things through Mark's POV, and that's how Mark views the world. He views it as like the stage for his movie, for his documentary that he's making, these experiments that he's doing.
And that's a fun parallel too, because when he first shows Helen like his like childhood footage of like all the experiments being done on him by his dad, it definitely channels into Mark's POV when he's behind the camera, and then we're getting that actual footage. Because I wrote down as well that like all the all the roles that he's filming look like it was like shot by like an 8-year-old like at like a barbecue or something. Like there's it's kind of like rocking back and forth. It's never stable. It's always like a camera, like a kid's holding a camera for the first time and like really giddy about it and having fun.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
No, it's a great scene too because most of it's played on the reactions because again that's kind of what Powell's getting at. It's about you.
Yeah,
It's about you, the audience, and that scene's so good too. So many great shots in it too. Like the cinematography is great.
Do you know who shot this actually?
Otto Heller. He
Okay.
was kind of a wonderkin. He kind of pioneered a lot of stuff, and the movies of note that he did were The Lady Killers, 1955. Then he did Alfie in 1966, that Michael Caine movie. Peeping Tom, Masquerade. We did The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
All right. This guy's been around.
But yeah, but like it just I'm not familiar with a lot of his movies, but I would definitely check them out based on the back of this because he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like it would not be the same movie without that, like the look, and the way that it was shot. It was just like it elevates the material in a way that like kind of like Hitchcock oftentimes would do. Like he kind of elevates these kind of seedy C tier type of movie plots.
Sure.
And he does something interesting with it, right? Because it's a very basic conceit. It's a very simple kind of plot, but it's layered with all of this character stuff and all of this subtext that kind of just brings it into such a much more rich territory.
Yeah. And
Because I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the movie's not about the plot at all, really.
No,
it's really just about the characters and the subtext and kind of the meta experience of watching the movie is more important than the actual beats of the plot. And that's why it's very easy to forgive some of the contrivances and some of maybe you could suggest are kind of like plot holes. Although it's pretty tight.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The only thing I really have a problem with is Sherlock Mama, but that's more of just like a... I like her though, so...
Yeah. I like a blind woman that's just like a hard drinker and just like very sassy with her daughter. You know?
Yeah.
No, that actually kind of lends to another part of that too, is that because it doesn't hone in too, I mean, it's tight, but it doesn't hone in too much with the plot and the characters, that it also leaves a lot of wiggle room to be pretty funny, actually, too. A lot of the dialogue is actually like really humorous. In spite of like what's actually going on in the background.
It's not a miserably dour experience. Like it's fully rounded. Like people get to act like kind of like people act.
Right.
You know? Like they're multi-dimensional human beings. Yeah. And yes, moments of levity, and it works. The jokes land most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something that doesn't really land. But even the jokes themselves are satirical because Michael Powell, I think, was poking fun at the studio system of the time. Because part of his background, actually, he gets started as a director, as a filmmaker because of the war and because nobody was paying attention to what they were doing. So he just kind of got to be like, oh, cool, I'm just going to go shoot this, okay? And they're like, all right, we'll see you when you get back.
Yeah. I'm sure that probably hurt his career a lot more because I think this was like his big career breaker.
It was.
Like, I mean, he made a few films after this, but at that point, he just kind of went downhill. I think he did one years after this, like starring like a really, really, really young like Helen Mirren. I can't remember the name of it. I was looking at like a list of his stuff, but
yeah, his last movie is 1978. Oh, that's a short film. Yeah. 1972 is his last feature film, The Boy Who Turned Yellow. Then he did this other one called The Age of Consent. They're a Weird Mob. It's kind of weird because he went from being kind of a prestige director, almost, you could say, to being kind of more relegated to genre stuff after Peeping Tom.
Yeah.
This is probably Alfred Hitchcock probably did it. He probably called everybody and be like, don't you fucking let that Powell motherfucker around. This is my territory, okay?
Yeah.
I do the elevated genre stuff.
There's only one English motherfucker who's gonna
Yeah.
do this, and it's me. Yeah.
Now, Tippy, take off your top. Do it now. Tippy Hedren, take off your top now.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
I wonder if those stories are true.
Oh, like all the pranks that Hitchcock would like pull and things like that.
No, that he was like a pervert.
Oh,
Like he
I'm
was
sure.
like
He probably was.
he was like too into his actresses.
right. I'm sure.
That's the rumor.
There's probably some story you could probably like dig up where he probably was.
They kept working with him though. So
Yeah.
when Tippi Hedren, or was it Tippi Hedren that came out like years and years later? It was when they were making that movie Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins and Helen Mirren. Speaking of Helen Mirren, she did some interview where she was like, yeah, he was a monster. I was like, then why did you keep working? You like worked with him like after he would have been monstrous to you. Like why?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you gotta take what you can get when you're an actor, I suppose. What are you gonna do?
I mean, this is also the woman that had to endure a lot. Yeah, during like you said, was it the movie Roar? And
Oh,
her
that's
husband
right.
And all that bullshit, and
Yeah,
like how
what an
almost
asshole.
everybody
Never-
died.
Fuck Tippi Hedren for being
Yeah.
involved in that in the first place. Like your whole life is just bad decisions.
Yeah.
You fucking retard.
Yeah, at a certain point, your animal rights activism has got to like come to like a forefront. Like say, like, okay, this is the line.
We wanted to prove that we could domesticate lions and live with them. It's like, no, you can't. It's literally not possible. That shit's baked into the DNA of those creatures. They will fucking maim you.
Yeah, that movie still like whenever I go back to it or clips of it, still gives me anxiety like to this day. Like, because
I don't
it's just
think
all
I've-
real.
I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing. I've only ever seen clips of it. I should watch it one of these days.
No, I would highly recommend it. I don't know if it's
Actually, that
one you
might
want to
be a
cover on here, but it's definitely one worth watching for sure.
Oh, I think that's a streaming movie. That's a movie
Yeah.
I'll watch on stream, and maybe I'll take an edible or something. and watch
There
it.
you go.
Oh, the score. Very unconventional score.
Yeah.
Very cool. Uses some known pieces, but most of the score was done by Brian Eastdale, who also he basically was Michael Powell's composer for most of his stuff. Like he did The Red Shoes, Black Narcissus, and Gone to Earth. Actually, he even did up until his last short film. He composed Michael Powell's last short film. Actually. But it's a cool because it's not what you expect out of something like this. Like it's not what I was, what you think is going to be in a serial killer thriller,
Yeah.
because it's very playful, it's very jazzy, it's very loose. Dare I say it's very hip for the era, right?
Yeah.
So I think he knew what he was doing. Like this is way more calculated than I think a lot of people would probably gave it credit for at the time, in terms of like being kind of directly targeting a certain age demographic. I think he was targeting younger people. That's why the younger generation that ended up championing it later, that's why they loved it so much, because it was for them.
I was also pretty impressed too with like even just the subtle piano pieces that they recorded for this as well, like during some of the screenings of the films, because they sounded like they were recorded raw. There was no like sort of big orchestration or anything that.
No.
Yeah, it felt like somebody was like in the room with them playing piano, just like while they were there. That, but I like that. I think that gives it a sort of a, like you mentioned earlier, like kind of like a fuck you to the studio a little bit, saying like, we could do it in this manner and it'll still be.
Well, because it gives the scenes an ambience and a texture that it otherwise wouldn't have. I think. I mean, it was pretty standard for a lot of recording back in the day. It's just not done very often anymore. But it's just open studio recording,
Sure.
where a band would literally just go in and they just have like mics hanging from the ceiling and they would record. And that's where you gotta get that. You get that spatial sense, like it's in a real tangible space. You can hear the sounds reverberate. You can hear them spread out. Because when you go into a booth and you record things, which I'm sure you're aware of, you're isolating the sound, and you do lose. It becomes artificial immediately. just by virtue of doing that. Like if I had stayed in a band, I would have definitely been like, oh, dude, we got to do like open studio recording. Like we can't do fucking everybody going one at a time.
Yeah.
We did our demos that way, and it was fun to do it just as the novelty, because we got to go to like a real recording studio and like with the big board and go in the rooms and all that stuff. But I would have much preferred to like just do it live.
Sure.
It's a very weird experience, like isolating pieces of something. But anyways.
Yeah. It's like you're hyper editing something and turning it into something else.
It loses texture.
Yeah.
It just loses texture. There's something about just like having it in its natural state as being kind of part of a bigger soundscape that just makes it feel more real, more present. And so to your point, I think that I didn't notice that myself, but now that I'm reflecting on it after you said that, I can definitely understand what you're getting at for sure.
Yeah, well, and I don't think Mark himself as a filmmaker would have been thinking too hard about the sound. I think he's more of a visual guy at the end of the day making this documentary.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But
it's all about that killer shot.
Right. And I think that's why, the film also lends itself so much to the silence of it, too. Like, you don't need to have a lot of harmonious music in the background as well. You can just have the film reel spinning, and that's sometimes all the sound you need. And it gives it that nice level of suspense. You don't really know where it's going if, like, for the first time you're watching it, and where everybody's head's at, when he's about to go in for the kill.
Because it's a cool thing, because it's using familiar sounds, and just like kind of familiar spaces and distorting them and making them scary and using them to build tension, which is another thing I would like to bring up is it's great use of pacing in some of these sequences. Like they are, like we had said before, the pacing is very deliberate in the entire movie, but even within scenes themselves, within sequences themselves, because there's like two big set pieces, I guess you could say. One of them is the girl dancing. And that sequence is a masterclass. I mean, it's so fucking good. I just watch that on its own sometimes. I'll just watch that scene because I think it's so good. And the guy who plays Mark, Karl-Heinz Bohm, is incredible. Like, he is so good. It's like he is off-putting and disturbing, but you really do feel for him, though. Like, he really tapped into that sad melancholy of somebody, like what you had said before, being trapped by their vice, being trapped by this thing, and like feeling like they can't escape from it.
Right. And that vice also turned him into like such a perfectionist too. Like, he's got an OCD nature about him that you can only see in like some artists of his ilk, I guess. Like even like speaking of like the dance sequence too, like you've got to look right. You stand at this angle. Like he's getting the measuring tape out so that he can keep her in focus, and it's all just like he's a very methodical, autistic kind of
100%. Yes. Oh, that sequence! So, like, you're just making me think of that sequence again, because it's so like the beautiful dance between the two actors. Like with him with the measuring tape and her doing her routine and like the shifting of the trunk around and stuff. Like, it's so good, and it's always moving and it's snapping and it's got that great kind of jazzy score to it.
Yeah. But what I also like about him is that like he's not like your typical like overly awkward sort of, like, he's got his moments, but generally he can still kind of like keep a conversation with everybody that he interacts with, and he can he's almost like a really good multitasker where he's like filling the film, but he can still kind of respond and entertain whatever they're asking or anything like that, and
he's a secret freak. And that's one of the themes of the movie is repression of like you can't be yourself or in front of people,
Right.
Like the old man buying the dirty pictures and kind of being embarrassed that Mark is there and that the little girl walks in and you know what I mean? Like, you're being exposed, like, because to show something about yourself that is secret or private creates a vulnerability in you, and that's scary, and gives people anxiety, That's
Yeah.
why my policy has always been like, it's just wide. The door is just wide open. I just don't care. Like, you're just gonna hear everything.
Right.
It just makes your life. Well, it doesn't. Sometimes it could create negative results, but I don't know. I just like having everything out there. I just rather nothing be a mystery. Like, let's just you're gonna have to understand me. So I'm just gonna I'm just gonna let you know.
Yeah. Puts a lot of slack off of your back, pretty much. Yeah.
Actually, who he reminded me of a little bit was the actor Peter Lorre. I revisited M.
I was about to bring that up actually because I was thinking about that too.
Which M is great, by the way. If people haven't seen the original M, what's his name?
By Fritz Lang.
Fritz Lang, thank you.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But Peter Lorre has like this really crazy good he has a great monologue at the end of the movie. And what Peter Lorre taps into as an actor is the same thing that Karl-Heinz Bohm taps into. This is where he's a reprehensible, repugnant person that you have some type of sympathy for, and empathy for, right? I mean, in M, he's a literal child killer. He's like stealing kids and killing them, and they go into this pop psychology like monologue at the end where he's talking about how shitty his life was and how everybody is implicated in it. It's society that has done this, and that's what drags me down. Right. Karl-Heinz Bohm, Mark never gets there that explicit. I feel like the essence of that is in his character. There's a kind of desperation to him. There's a sadness to him. What I really love, again, going back to his relationship with Helen, played by Anna Massey, is that she's the first time he ever sees the world through a different perspective. He's never thought of his life not doing what he was doing until he meets her, and it's like a kind of an earth-shattering thing for him.
Yeah.
It's a super intense experience that he's having, which is great because it's the catalyst for the third act. Everything kind of builds from that moment of where you think maybe he's going to stop and he doesn't, and he just keeps going because he's in too deep. He's too much of a secret pervert.
Yeah, can't help himself. Yeah, no. Yeah, even that moment where they have the exchange and they're just sitting down. And she tells him. Because there's this dynamic in the middle where it's like they almost kind of inspire each other to pursue something great.
Yeah.
Her book is essentially about like a magic camera that can capture images unlike anything anybody's ever seen before, and all the children, they want to actually see these images, like they want to have like a visualization of it, and it takes him aback. It's like, well, maybe I can actually capture those things. And then they kind of have to work hand in hand in that way. There's something, I mean, it's both twisted, but it's also kind of like fascinating how that kind of works, where in a weird way, in a weird dynamic, they need each other. Yeah.
Well, 100%. And she gives him purpose outside of like his father's
right
purpose, right? Like he can be his own man. He could be his own person.
Exactly.
Sometimes when you meet somebody and you get in a relationship or you fall in love with somebody, they elevate you. They make you better, and they give you you find your purpose in life through that person, not because of that person, but just through the experience of knowing them.
Right.
And I think that's kind of you see the seeds of that. It's like it's just a very mature adult perspective on I guess having these kinds of problems, but it's something that's relatable. Like everybody has kind of at some time in their life will go through an experience like that. It's something that's very relatable. Trelling says Shaun has no mystery, shits with the door wide open. Oh buddy, I have a 2-year-old kid, so I actually do shit with the door wide open. So yeah, it's that I'm that wide open.
That's the way to flex these days.
That's the way you flex, dude. I shit with the door open. That's how much of a hard ass I am.
Yeah.
I took the door off the bathroom, actually. I don't need it. I don't need it.
Speaking of movies that don't have like relationships that elevate each other, Deadpool and Wolverine, by the way, I should just say right now, I'm just kidding. But
yeah, they literally don't. It's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Peeping Tom. I'm so happy I never have to talk about that other movie again.
Oh,
somebody's gonna make me. Somebody will make me. It'll be in my private life. One of my brothers will see it, and they'll want to talk to me about it for an hour.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, it's okay. It's the work. That's the work of an older brother. Let me see here.
I wish I had a ton more notes to like jump on here. I mean, it's more just kind of general stuff that people have already said about it. 'Cause I'm trying to think of some things I didn't like or anything, but there's not really.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. Like this watch around just because they don't. Again, it's like they don't make movies like this anymore. Really.
Well, that is the thing about this. Like, I guess
Yeah.
it's hard to review a movie like this because we like it so much. So it's hard to. It's hard to find things to like really pick at it because the things that are wrong with it are so incidental.
Sure.
Because the holistic package in totality, it just works so well.
Yeah.
Like by the time the credits roll, like any like a little minor glaring issue you would have had like kind of dissipates.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I said, I think Sherlock Mama is very contrived. I think that's a very contrived way of like kind of getting us to where we need to be at the end. But I understand it, and I like that actress, and like
I know that it still ends on a. Yeah.
And it's also one great. She has a great scene with Mark, which is when she's up in his film room.
Yep.
And it's in the dark, and there's the spotlights. It's like every scene has something like that. That's what I love about this. Like every single scene has some sort of well-constructed sequence, something meaningful that's like that builds tension and is thrilling and also informs the character. Like the way they move the camera, the way they choose to light things, like it all matters. It's not there just because it looks cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it means something. It's motivated down to the bottom. It's very thoughtful.
And it's still even shocking now that it was released in 1960. It looks like something that they would have done in like New Hollywood era. And you look back and like, because everything else, like, yes, there is like a stage set sort of presence to a lot of like how they dress everything. But even still, they shoot it in such its own unique modern way that I'm impressed with, you know.
It's because it feels like a choice, though. Like it feels like you could make something like Peeping Tom today and kind of do it the same way, and it would still make sense, right? Like because it's about informing the character and the way that the character sees the world, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
that could be me projecting or rationalizing, but I really do think that Michael Powell, having watched his other two movies or two of his other movies, that's just the kind of director that he is, you know, and it's present in his other work. So it wouldn't shock me if that was the same case with Peeping Tom.
Yeah,
you know what's one of the things that he got like a lot of backlash for? You know what's crazy is that he plays the father of Mark, and his son played the young Mark, and people just assumed that his son would be super traumatized. Yeah, it was a funny anecdote. I was listening to an interview with his son, and he was talking about it. He's like, "Yeah, people used to think I was like would have been messed up from it or something." He's like, "I was just making a movie with my dad.
Yeah,
like,
acting.
We're playing pretend."
Yeah,
like what are you talking about?
Right. Like, yeah, he threw a lizard at me, but it was whatever. That was my pet.
But it's crazy, though, that this movie got buried, especially in the wake of Psycho. Like, I can understand it not being popular or getting overlooked because of Psycho, because Psycho is such a cultural force. But to be, like, pulled from distribution and shelved for 20-some odd years seems pretty crazy. Because even in the climate, like, that's... Like there wasn't an American distributor that wanted to put this out, like just because Psycho was so popular, like because it's pulling from the same territory. Even that trailer that we watched, it doesn't represent the movie very well, other than it shows you the plot, but it doesn't represent the tone very well at all. But because it's trying to sell Psycho, that's what it's trying to sell.
Sure.
So clearly there was an audience for it out there, and it just kind of shocks me that they gave him such a hard time about it because it's such a classy movie in a weird way. Like it's so it handles this material about as classy as you possibly could.
Right. I'm trying to think of like other examples too that were like pushing those boundaries a little bit, but never really. Yeah, like still keeping it in a classy tone, like something like Night of the Hunter, maybe is another good example.
Well, but that was another movie that got panned.
Exactly. Yeah.
That got panned, dude. People were not ready to see Robert Mitchum be a bad guy.
Right, right.
And that's also a very odd movie. It's very much its own thing, has its own pace, its own kind of structure. It's got like this nightmare dream quality to it. It's a special movie, dude. I got the Kino Lorber. Yeah, I got the Kino Lorber 4K not that long ago, and I've watched it like 3 times.
Yeah.
It's really great.
And not only just game pan, but like being Charles Lawton's like only directorial debut, and that's it. Like he just didn't direct anymore. He just acted, and that.
Yeah. But what a fucking movie to make, though, dude.
But yeah, exactly. Like if you got one thing under your belt, that's a great one. You know.
Crossing my fingers for Punching Bag. This is going to be my Night of the Hunter.
There you go.
Trembling says, yeah, it's weird that American distributors didn't buy this one for the drive-in circuit, which was all about exploitation movies. Yeah, especially like have a revival of it in the 70s, because they were always looking for something. I mean, shit, they'd put anything up on the goddamn screen. They weren't very discerning at the drive-ins back in the day. In your quarter theaters.
Yeah, I also have to imagine alone the budget alone must have had to have gone a lot towards just the Technicolor of it.
I imagine so.
If Psycho was the bigger success, it's in black and white, so that's like the interesting comparison there too. It's like what do
you like? Could you measure these movies? Or are they too different to actually compare and say one's better than the other?
That's tough. Yeah,
that's tough. I was like, which one's better?
They're very different, in a lot of ways.
I would probably err on the side of Psycho, for real.
Probably,
but because that's the cliche answer, but it's I think it's the right answer. But I do think Peeping Tom is like, there is a kind of an independent quality to it. Like it is it's kind of rough around the edges a little bit in a way that like Psycho isn't. Like, Psycho's very much they had a lot of money and this is a studio movie. But I don't know though. I would really have a hard time.
I would say on technical terms, definitely Psycho for sure. And then I probably lean Psycho story-wise a little bit too, up until like the very, very end.
Yeah.
Which, I think most people have always said, like, you don't need an over-explanation for all of that. We've seen it. We know exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, I mean, I think you've got to appreciate them on their own merits. I'm sure Psycho probably had a bigger budget and more behind it for sure. Yeah, like you said, like Peeping Tom definitely feels like it's coming from an independent spirit, and that's why I'm always a sucker for that too, because you and I relate to that a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe that's what might give Peeping Tom the edge. I also think Peeping Tom is a much more thoughtful character study than Psycho is. Psycho is more about the form.
Yes.
And I really enjoy just Hitchcock's direction of Psycho. Because it's very easy to be dismissive of Psycho because it's so popular and everybody loves it and everybody knows it so well. But it's a fucking great movie. It is made so fucking well. Like, there's a reason why people fucking love that movie because it just is that fucking good. It's like Jurassic Park. It's like, yeah, guys, Jurassic Park just is that fucking good.
Right.
It's crazy to say that, but it just is. It's like nearly a perfect movie.
Yeah.
For what it is, relative to what it is.
Sure.
Trembling says it's definitely better than the Gus Van Sant Psycho with Peeping Tom masturbating Vince Vaughn. Well, that's true. I've always defended that movie on principle of its experiment.
Sure.
Because Gus Van Sant wanted to, because it's so faithful a reconstruction of Psycho, he just wanted to show people that directors matter. Mm-hmm. A director's vision matters. You can have the same material, the same shot list, the same everything, and it's going to be different. It's going to feel completely different. I mean, the Gus Van Sant Psycho, it feels completely different from Psycho. It feels very much like a 90s indie movie, even though it's kind of the same movie. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it in the sense of it being a good movie, but I like it for what it is. I guess
what it's trying to do. Yeah.
For the experiment of it, I thought it was. Yeah. I'm always like, wow, he convinced Universal Studios to let him remake Psycho shot for shot to prove that directors matter. Like that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Even though Gus Van Sant is a weirdo.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Austin says Strangers and Snakes on a Train. It's coming. I hope so. It's coming soon. That's going to be my next movie, Austin. You got to write it for me. Strangers and Snakes on a Train. We're going to blow the doors off this thing.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson, CGI. The whole thing. We're going to do a young Sam Jackson. It's actually a prequel to Snakes on a Plane. It's when the Sam Jackson's character is 22 years old riding a train through Louisiana.
And you got to make sure that he's still not holding an actual prop gun. It's got to be full green screen, CGI'd in. Yeah.
I mean, clearly I'm going to have the money to do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think Disney's going to make it with me.
Right.
I'm going to have Sean Levy on as a consultant.
There you go.
Actually, there was a little trivia. I had completely forgotten about this. Do you remember that Scream name drops Peeping Tom? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
So the
what
scene-
scene is that?
It's with what's her face? The one that has the talk show now. I can't believe I forget.
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
It's Drew Barrymore. She's being asked what is the original thriller slasher movie. She says Psycho, and he's like, wrong. Michael Powell's Peeping Tom from 1960, and then she dies. Okay. Austin also says, throw Sherlock Mama from the train. There you go.
That's a great little Danny DeVito movie, which
Throw Mama from the train is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of Scorsese's favorite films. As he's
I didn't know.
That's one thing I do like about Scorsese. He is a real film fan, and he champions a lot of stuff, even when I disagree with him. I mean, that's like fucking this Ty West business. He's the voice of a generation. It's like, oh, shut! Are you so out of touch now? Yeah. Oh, fuck you. Anyways. But yeah, like I don't really have many other notes myself. I think I've pretty much gone through everything I had to say about it, because it's just a great movie, guys. It's something that you owe it to yourself to check out. It's on Tubi right now too. So you can watch it for free with limited commercial interruption. Tubi's great. Tubi's the people's streamer. That's what I call it.
Yeah. They harness a great collection of just good old lovable cult movies,
They have some real random shit on there, like that. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like, there are so many times where I'm looking for some weird offbeat movie that's not anywhere, but it's on Tubi. It'll be on Tubi. Like the first found footage, technically the first found footage movie ever made. It's like some guy's name. I'm blanking on it right now, but that's on Tubi. That was the only place it's on. It was like Tubi and then Canopy if you had a library card that was in network of Canopy.
When we did our found footage crossover, Tubi saved my ass many, many times. They'll keep them all on there on their registry of just like, hey, you wanted to check out Paranormal Entity? It's here.
There you go.
Check it out.
You want to watch this movie called Hate? With these skinhead Nazi guys like abuse a family. It's very funny games.
Yeah.
It's awful. I think I talked about it.
Unlock your iPhone first.
Oh, well, fine. I didn't. Why? I don't do anything, iPhone.
The iPhone Nazis are getting to Shaun now.
Yeah, they heard me. They're like, oh, is he talking about anti-Semitism? Well, yes, the characters in the movie iPhone, they were anti-Semites.
Yeah.
Fact. They were crack smoking, meth blowing anti-Semites. Not even a joke. Those are the bad guys in the movie. But yeah, so do you have any closing thoughts about Peeping Tom?
I mean, I pretty much have the same sentiment. This is one of those few examples where I would recommend it to anybody that is just kind of curious or would want to check something out that's got a very, very clear and stable and curious artistic vision from Powell. I haven't seen a lot of his other work either. The Red Shoes and I think you said Black Narcissus are on my list. It's a cool film. I think that just kind of challenged how even in 1960 standards, what perversion, eroticism, and obsession. Obsession is the big one. That's the big theme.
Yes. Yeah.
Were at the time, and I think are still in many ways relevant now. Like, it is dated by the time that it takes place, and the language and how people interact and and look. Of obviously, it's a period piece, but there are so many things you can take from it even today, and I think that's what makes it so compelling as a movie.
Oh, 100%. I can tell you right now, I am watching Peeping Tom with a different eye right now. I'm going to steal from Peeping Tom. Going to steal from it.
I'm peeping right into it now.
No, I'm not recreating it. I'm stealing from it.
Yeah. That is one other thing, though. I was like, has anybody tried to redo this story, like almost like beat for beat, kind of like they did with Psycho? Or
it's called American Beauty.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
The kid with the camera.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a Mark.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to look up Peeping Tom remake. Actually, how's it? Thank God I shouldn't have typed that into the search engine, because now it's going to happen.
Right.
No. Here's one. Here's an article from 2020 from Flickering Myth. A peep into Peeping Tom. Is it time for a modern reboot? Honestly, it kind of is time for a mod. If you could do it now, I think, actually. I don't think they should.
Right.
But I can see a version of this in the modern era, though, especially like with just how everybody's into movies, how everybody kind of is a little bit of a filmmaker themselves these days because of cell phones. And you could separate that out and be like, well, he's a little bit more anachronistic and he likes the old stuff. He likes real film, etc. That could be part of the theme, but I don't know.
I was going to say, most found footage films now are like a little bit of like a chess piece of this, if anything now, where they kind of borrow little elements, even if they don't realize that they're doing that, because they're influenced by other things too. But well,
because it's clearly an influential movie on a generation of filmmakers, like Scorsese's generation. Like, clearly it's an influence on like De Palma and Scorsese and probably other filmmakers that I'm forgetting right now.
Sure.
Austin says Nightcrawler is about a guy with a camera too. Dude, Nightcrawler rules.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler is a fucking banger. I cannot believe that the next movie that guy directed was Roman J. Israel. I was so disappointed. I love Denzel too, and even Denzel could not save Roman J. Israel.
Yeah.
And I'm such a sick fuck, Jeremy. I knew I didn't like it already, and I bought it because it was $1 at Dollar Tree.
No.
So
no, you betrayed us, Sean.
Dude, I don't even own Nightcrawler, but I own Roman J. Israel for some reason. What the fuck is wrong with me? I really got to get my head examined. I really do. I got to stop. Trembling says, how do you do a Peeping Tom remake when people don't care about their privacy anymore and put everything about themselves out to the internet? Well, that could be the angle, though. That could be the angle, is that he's trying to find that the essence of something where people are being vapid and shallow, and that could be part of his character and his kind of his tortured soul, if you will. I'm telling you, I could do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make Peepin' Tom too. Actually, I'm going to make a legacy sequel. Let's see if he's still alive. If the actor is still, if Karl-Heinz Bohm is still alive.
I think he passed away, but
he did in 2014, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah. Damn.
It would be called.
I thought he looks so familiar, but now that I'm looking at his filmography, I haven't seen like anything. Maybe it's just this movies that I'm like thinking of.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he's got one of those faces.
Yeah, he's got one of those for sure. The sequel would be Peeping Tom 2, the quest for the trad wife. Yeah, pretty much.
Trad wives.
Yeah.
Mark's gonna get hitched no matter what. He's gonna find his lucky lady, his special gal.
Completely offline.
That's what he does. He gets off on watching women in like in low-cut blouses making cakes. That's how he gets them, and then he kills them.
They leave their pies out of the windowsill. He just like takes them and eats them.
Trembling says Peeping Tom 2 Chatterbait mod. Oh, that'd be good too. Yeah. You're not taking this seriously enough. You're ruining it for everyone. He's trying to masturbate. Why are you wearing a clown mask?
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah, like I said, everybody, I think you guys should definitely check this out. Austin says Peeping Tom 2, peep harder. I like that one too. I like the simplicity of it.
Peep harder. Yeah.
Dude, honestly, like one of my favorite like colon titles ever is Die Hard 2, Die Harder. Like it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so amazing. I was like, I cannot believe they called that shit Die Harder.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's when like just like the little boy in me just goes, "Ooh, it's so dumb."
It's gonna be quite
yeah.
the film. Yeah.
Well, because it's just a statement of purpose, dude. It's just
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
dude, this is a dumb action movie. It's called Die Harder. like you know what you're going to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was what's his name? Rennie Harlan. I think that was his first American movie. I think it was that one. And then after that, he does Nightmare on Elm Street, like 5 or
Right.
Cutthroat Island, maybe.
Right.
Those were all around that time. Trembling says, mine is Pig in the City. It's great to apply to sequels that it doesn't apply to. That's true. That fucking George Miller, dude, he's a hack. Not really. He's a little bit of a boomer, but
Yeah.
a little bit of a fucking, what do you call it? A male ally boomer, but he's a good director. Can't take
Yeah.
that away from him. You got to be able to separate. When you're a serious cineast like myself, when you're a Deadpool and Wolverine hater like me, you have to be able to separate these things out, you know?
Sure.
You got to understand things on an objective level. Austin says, I love Rennie. Rennie Harlan? Is Rennie Harlan? He hasn't done anything lately, I don't think.
Not
At least
lately.
anything good. Did he do like Frankenstein's Past or something?
He was
That found footage movie?
He just did The Strangers, chapter 1.
Oh,
that
I have
recent
not.
one.
I have not watched that. I did not hear good things though.
Yeah. I have had a little bit. I want to go back and watch Deep Blue Sea again in full. That's one of the ones I want to get back into.
You want to get
been
back
a long
into
while.
it? I've been thinking about getting into Deep Blue Sea. Well, Godspeed, friend. I watched it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to, if you go on my YouTube channel on Zoobox, there is it's called Hot Reacts Only, and I did this extemporaneous joke reaction to the LL Cool J song Deep Blue Sea, which has the lines, he wears a hat like a shark fin.
Oh God.
He literally just starts explaining the plot in the song. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie. Austin says Deep Blue Sea is fun. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's on the lower tier of like those kinds of movies, but
Right.
you know, it's about a giant man-eating shark.
Right.
It's better than the Meg. It's better than the Meg. The
Yeah.
Meg kind of sucked, and the Meg 2 was awful. I don't even know how the fuck that happened, but
Right. I'm more just kind of curious about seeing a lot of the practical effects, because there was actually a lot of non CGI used in that movie that people don't give enough credit to. And I probably also just suckered for one of those like articles saying like, okay, it's not Jaws, but it's like the next best Jaws or something like that. I'm like, all right, I'll come around to it again. We'll see. I love the cover to it.
yeah. Trembling says, I was watching George Miller talking about how much Buster Keaton is in his latest 2 Mad Max movies, which I never noticed, but it's definitely there. Oh, yeah, for sure. They do a few Buster Keaton-esque bits and that, some silly business. Like I said, like you are influenced by what your influences are, and you never know when they're going to show up, you know? That's why people shouldn't be afraid of their influences, but they should definitely not seek to just be recreating things they liked. Like that's, I think, what is generally the thing that I find bothersome is that it doesn't feel authored anymore because it's so derivative. And that's it just kind of gets boring. And, you know, I'm the kind of guy who watches like 500 movies a year. So for me, it's doubly boring. Like I've seen 1,000 of these like in the past couple of years. Like, so maybe, you know, I judge harshly because of that. That could be a thing. A little self-awareness for you tonight. But anyways, but I think that's going to do it for us tonight, Jeremy. Unless you got any other pressing business you'd like to discuss. When are we going to see Sharp End of a Buck Knife? When's the release date, pal?
I don't know if I can reveal. Yeah, I was gonna say that's out of my hands at the moment, but I'm sure something will happen very, very soon. If not this year, next year, definitely. So,
Well, I need to be a cool kid, so you're going to need to send me a screener before everybody gets to see it. Oh, but
Yep.
you know, at the very least, it'll come out before Mass State Lottery. At the very least, you know, they put a release date out for that. You know,
I've known for a while. Yeah,
I've got a leaked image from their announcement.
Oh, sweet.
Christmas 2025. No, I
All
actually
right.
know when it's coming. Actually, I know when it's coming out. He told me.
Okay, good.
But anyways, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Shaun. That's my adopted son, Jeremy, over there.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys real soon, at least in 2 weeks' time. At the very least, we'll probably end up talking about Trap and Alien
Yes.
Romulus. I think. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what we're doing? That's right. We're gonna do our best and worst of the year so far. That's the next episode.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Right. Cool.
But obviously we're going to see Trap and Alien Romulus in between that time. Well, actually, we'll talk off stream. About this.
Sure.
What am I doing? Get out of here, everybody. What are you doing in my house? Get the fuck out of here. Bye.
Have a good
Goodbye. Fuck you.